noise.
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy. Hey, before we get started with today's show, I just want to draw your attention to new merchandise. Funkin' Stuff and Truth and Rhythm designs are in, and they look pretty darn cool. So show your support, help support the program, and show off some stylish merchandise and apparel. Only at the Funkin' Stuff store.
We locked up in 1971, and then we had to, I remember having to go back to Detroit, put a show together, and then we were the first act to appear on Soul Train, the brand new show Don Cornelius was starting up, Soul Train.
On the first episode?
Very first one.
Wow.
With, who was on that show with us? Gladys Knight, and I want to say Eddie Kendricks, and one more guy that I keep forgetting, but he was on the show too. So that was so when we did the Soul Train cruise, we reunited later and did the Soul Train cruise. That's what they talked about all the time on the cruise. That every time we showed up or did a show or anything, it was, and they would blast it throughout the monitors on the ship while we were on there. It was 7 days, and they would say, "Honeycomb, first artist ever to perform on Soul Train." So that was a big thing.
Wow. What was it exciting for you to be seen on TV and be heard on the radio, and how are you feeling about all that?
Well, I mean, I love TV because I'm more visual than audio. I'm, even to this day, I'm way more visual. And when I got on Soul Train, they said to me, "You can't wear that." What wardrobe that I had on. The other two girls were dressed, moderately, and I had this plunging neckline all the way down to the navel. That but it was kind of provocative, and so I told Don Cornelius, I don't change clothes. I don't have anything else. So they had to let me go on with that, but they weren't happy.
Wow, so you set a precedent in more ways than one on that first episode. Amen.
I don't remember getting a lot of close-ups because I think that they didn't want to zoom in on that. It wasn't great big cleavage or anything like that, but I think it was just the look that was. Does she have on anything on under that? But I mean, it worked. I actually, if I had that dress, I have some things that are very much like that to this day. So that was 71. It was that 50 years ago. So I guess I was a little ahead of my time there.
And Wandads has Ray Parker Jr. is playing that guitar part. Is that right?
Oh yeah. 16-year-old genius young guy. And I mean, we had him on That's My Story, my podcast, our podcast, and he said that he stayed home every day waiting for the phone to ring so that he could go play, do a session for Hot Wax and Invictus and all the acts over there, in particular Honeycomb. And he said eventually the guitarist couldn't show, and I got that call. I think it was from McKinley Jackson. He was with politicians, but he was also the guy that put the studio bands together. And after they heard him that one time on Honeycomb, I believe he stayed and played on everything after that. But can you imagine a 16-year-old phenom is what he was.
Yeah, unbelievable. A lot of people aren't aware of, what he did at such a young age, playing on You Got the Love by Rufus and so much great stuff when he was a teenager.
I tell everybody, guess who's on our record?
And Juanads had that, I'm trying to think of how to describe it, but it was sort of like just a really catchy, soulful pop sound that also was funky. It had like a funk quality to it that a lot of the earlier Motown stuff didn't really have.
Right.
And, I felt like it kind of maybe started a little bit with like some of the Jackson 5 stuff, that came out, and just real bouncy, making you feel good, and just
right.
Like Mr. Big stuff that same year,
right.
Kind of like in that vibe. So
even the lyrics, the first lyrics they tell me were, I want to put it in the Juanads, I got some love for sale. And so they really thought outside the box, and then they reined it in a little bit and said, no, we better put it in the Juanads. I need somebody new.
You saved that version for the concerts, yeah.
Right. That would have been cute. I got some love for sale.
Yeah.
Whew, okay.
Who did you start going out on the road with once you hit it? Like what other acts?
I just remember being hooked up at the Apollo with George Clinton, and that was great to do 3 shows and then 4 on the weekends. And George is a Leo, and so he and I bonded, and he would always come up to my room, my dressing room, and it was always full of smoke, and I'd sit on the floor and just listen to him tell stories. That's what he liked to do. And so I remember going out with George Clinton. That was wonderful. And his Parliament Funkadelics, and the 5 stair steps. Is it 7 or 5?
5.
5, okay. 5 stair steps. And we actually did a show, I want to say, with the Glass House, Frida Payne, everybody that was on the labels. And I want to say that might have been in Detroit. Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, so we pretty much toured by ourselves and not really a full package, of this one and that one and the other one. But we did tour with, we did a show with the Temptations. I remember that. I think that was up north, San Francisco or Oakland, and some other artists, the names escape me right now, but.
Well, George Clinton, I'm guessing because Parliament at that time was on Invictus, so sort of like a label mate. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, but that is an interesting pairing, the Honeycomb and like a Parliament or Funkadelic.
I know, right?
Kind of like the I think it was Jimi Hendrix and the Monkees were together at one time.
What?
Or the Beastie Boys and Madonna.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What about that? I believe that George inspired a song for Honeycomb, and it was either When Will It End or one of the other ones. I can't remember, but I mean, I think it sort of sounds a little Parliament Funkadelic-ish.
I don't know which one that is. I'd be curious to know actually which one it was.
When Will It End?
When Will It End? I'll have to listen to that, thinking of that.
Mm-hmm.
And Stick Up, which you mentioned, also hit #1 on R&B.
Yeah.
So you kind of had back-to-back #1s. And
yeah, and in a way, I don't think I ever thought that would go #1. I liked them, but I didn't think that it would make the kind of noise that it did. And so we're forever grateful. I believe Greg, General, and Angelo or Ronald Dunbar, they took the same template and they said, well, Want Ads was a smash. Let's just follow that and follow it up with Stick Up. And people tell me that you can sing Stick Up to Want Ads. So
yeah, they mix together well.
I'll try that one day.
And was Want Ads on 2 of your albums, 2 Honeycomb albums? Was it? It looked like, I was looking at the records and it looked like it was on 2 of them.
Those kind of stats, I don't know, but I rely on the people that are members of the official Honeycomb fan page on Facebook. I rely on them to tell me all stats and how many years to the day that this happened. And we celebrated a 50-year anniversary recently with Want Ads, and but sometimes it escapes my mind that it was in March of 71 or August of 71 or whatever it was, and they come right on in. They know everything, especially my European kids. I say kids, but
yeah, the real hardcore fans.
Yeah, my hardcores. I always go, well, where are my hard? That's what I say. Where are my hardcore musicologists? I need some help. When did this happen? And at least 3 of them will know the answer.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Honeycomb historians.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, I had just looking at the records. It looked to me like Want Ads was on 2 of the albums, which would be an unusual thing. But I was thinking because it was so popular that actually got stuck on 2 of them. And One Monkey Don't Stop No Show also went top 5. Day I Found Myself went to number 8. So I mean, you guys had 4 or 5 straight like huge hits.
Insane, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Don Cornelius asked us, how did you do that? What do you attribute your success to? And I think Edna said something like, well, it's probably we have great songwriters. And then maybe Carolyn said, well, it's because we have a great lead singer. And then Don Cornelius gave me the mic and I said, hey, it's just the Honeycomb's time. He probably wanted to slap me.
We don't need to analyze this. This is what it is.
Right. Yeah. So I saw myself saying it and I said, oh my God, did I say that on national television?
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh.
So Ron Dunbar, you mentioned, did you get to know him much at all? Because I know he also later ended up working some with George Clinton, and I've seen his name a lot, but I don't know much about him.
Somewhat, but I believe that he was better acquainted and friends with Edna, and we saw him at the studio, or at least I did, or maybe in passing sometime, but he was incredible talent, as well as the engineer Lawrence Horn. Although I did get pissed when he would mix our vocals down too soft, our background vocals. I would say, what in the hell? I can barely hear us, but I guess they knew what they were doing because, but back to Ronald Dunbar. Yeah. I just remember that he was a strong force, but I didn't get to know him that well.
And I think he passed away a year or 2 ago.
He did, didn't he? He did.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yes. Can you share with us, Shelly, maybe 1 or 2 particularly memorable times when the group was out on the road, or maybe doing a promotional thing or something that just really is in your memory?
Well, more than that, we had gotten into the health food sort of scene with being careful what we ate. And I know that every place we went, every country, wherever we were, we would bring, a lot of times we'd bring our own food and our own condiments. And so that became kind of like a joke. We'd be sitting in the restaurant and they'd try to come up and give us, and we just start whipping stuff out of our purses, all of us. And that I remember more than, you know, anything. All the touring and the stuff was great. I remember performing for the troops in Germany, and they were just so gracious and so endearing and just happy for any entertainment, and just a wonderful, wonderful crowd. And just certain things, you know, stand out to me like that.
And did you get to meet anyone that was sort of like a thrill, like, I don't know, like an Aretha or anybody that, you know, you're just like, wow?
As a honeycomb, I don't think so. All I know is we were working, always working. I remember I was very tired a lot because we squeezed a lot into those years we were together. And I was toward the end, I was like, boy, this could wear a person down. I think that I need to just start thinking of a better way to do this. I was exhausted all the time toward the end. You know, they were just working it because they knew that we had a window, and we just had to get in there, you know, get in where you can fit in. And that's what we were doing. We were working everywhere. And finally, Carolyn got so very tired that she announced one day that she was just not happy anymore. You know, too much overboard touring, not enough royalties. You know, no one was really getting paid. We were always, it seemed like we were always in debt. At least that's what they were telling us. Mm-hmm. You girls, you know, what you owe us for the studio time. You owe us. You owe us for the hotels, and you owe us, you know, for all of the food and the wardrobe and the choreography. And so we were always in debt. And so Carolyn just didn't see a way out of it, and she announced that she was quitting. And
so was that as Hot Wax and the company was having some troubles, or was it?
Yes, they were. I mean, I believe that they were leaking. And so it was probably hard to maintain all those acts, and you know, who knows what goes on within companies, and who needs to get paid and who needs what. You know, I know Edward and Brian probably can speak better on that, but I mean, in the Wikipedia, it states that the major labels that were backing or funding us dropped off, and whoever that was, you know, I'm not sure if that was Buddha or whoever that was at the time, but it just became too hard for them to continue. So we broke up, they broke up, and it didn't seem likely that Honeycomb was going to be able to keep it together to go to another label. So Edna was like, well, hey, I'm the lead singer, so I can still sing. So she and Greg went on, and she had a great success and a great career as a lead, you know, solo artist without Honeycomb.
That last album, though, I think, you know, it didn't do as well to a large extent because of what was going on internally, I think, because there were some solid songs still on there. I mean, Ace in the Hole is really catchy. I don't know if you remember that one.
It's funny you should mention that. We, you know, the new Honeycomb, we call them the Honeycomb Angels. We put Ace in the Hole back in the show just because you're right. It's a great song, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it sounds very, it's like Don't Count Your Chickens. People seem to like that one a lot. They remind me of that kind of that Motown kind of Jackson 5 kind of groove. And so both of those songs are back in the show now. We didn't do those in the regular show.
I don't know if you recall the track Sitting on a Time Bomb, Waiting for Her to Come. That was, to me, was like very sort of staple singer-ish.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That one with When Will It End, those were the two that are just very edgy and very different. And I get them confused sometimes. And I think that it was George Clinton that may have wrote, either was Time Bomb or When Will It End. but they both have that same kind of very different flair for us. And so if you listen to it later, you may be able to hear which one you think he was involved with.
Yeah, I will do that.
Okay.
Time Bomb especially, I know, made me think of, like a Mavis Staples kind of vibe.
And
the other one I'll have to
that's
get
back
close
in
to.
our show too.
Okay. Wow, that's going to be a killer show.
Yep.
So, Shelly, what path did you take? I mean, I know that you eventually, connected with Verdine, and that, what path did you take professionally, and then how did that meeting happen?
When you say after, are we talking post Honeycomb now?
Post Honeycomb, yeah.
Post Honeycomb. Post Honeycomb, I was approached by Ralph Johnson of Earth, Wind and Fire. He's the original drummer and one of the principals now, and almost a founding member. Not quite, but he's still one of the principals of the three. And he asked to produce some stuff on me. I hadn't met Verdine, but then we did like 3 songs. He and his partner Douglas Gibb, who's great musician. And I would just remember sitting in the studio watching all of Earth, Wind and Fire pass by me. They were going to be the musicians. Everybody did everything together back in those. You sang, they played, and I just remember going to the phone. I said, "Oh my God, guess who's on my session?" And they said, "Who? Maurice White?" "Yeah, Maurice is here." "No, not him." And they said, "Who is it?" "Verdine White is on my session. You believe this? The greatest bass player in the world." And after that, I didn't see Verdine anymore for about 6 months, and then I saw him at a car wash, and he said, "You're that girl that I played on that session." I said, "Right." I said, "Did you ever hear the songs?" And he said, "No." So he sat in my car and I played him the songs, and eventually he just said, "Look, why don't I work with you and let's do some stuff together," which we did. Nothing really happened with with the original stuff, but we started working together, and we did several projects. I did a TV show that I was the star of, that he did the music for, he and Allie Willis. And so that was called Hot City Disco. And so after that, we kept working together, and he eventually said, "I have a better idea. Why don't I sign you to me?" And I said, "Okay." So that was 40 years ago, and we've been together ever since. And in the interim, I had a management company, and we would manage. We had rappers, actresses, some sports figures. Not Verdine and I. That was another girl and myself. And I went to work for Eddie Murphy for a while. I worked on Coming to America, the TV series. I worked with Tommy Davidson, who I got hired over there. And I put another girls group together called Strictly Business. And we were signed to Columbia, but that didn't really pan out. It didn't go anywhere. And eventually I hooked back up with Edna, and we started doing some dates with her daughter, Melody Perry. And we did like maybe 5 dates, and then we did that Soul Train cruise, and that was fun. And I want to say, was that 2014?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was great. And then after that, I think I met up with the drummer of Earth, Wind and Fire. He had a wife named Kathy Merrick, and she was part of the Shades of Lace, and she sang with the Sounds of the Supremes. And I said to her one day, "Wow, we should put a group together." And so we did, and she found Wendy Smith Brunet, who was an ex-Raylette and so many other things. And she sang everywhere, all over the sun. She was the first African-American woman to sing with the Glenn Miller Orchestra, legendary Glenn, and they traveled and toured all over the world. And so I'm just happy to say that that they're the two we call them honeycomb angels, and we're together now, and we hope to do some things in the future.
Wow, that's a fast look at 40 years.
Right? Hey, look, your show is only an hour or so. We had to fit it all in here.
Yeah, well, I want to ask you, do you remember how you and Ralph Johnson met, though? How he met you?
I met Douglas Gibb first.
Oh, okay.
And I think, if you put a gun to my head, I can't remember how, but in our travels, we met, and he said, my partner is Ralph Johnson. And I said, oh, great, let's do some things together. That's how I met Ralph. It was through Douglas Gibb.
Do you remember about what year you first connected with them?
It had to be 70, I want to say 4, 5.
So really, just as Earth, Wind and Fire started elevating.
Yeah. And then Mary Wilson at that time was doing the Supremes, and she asked me to join. And I declined, actually, because I just didn't want to be in another girls group like that, you know. I could just see problems down the line. So I declined, but I wished her well, and she eventually went and got Sherry Payne from the Glass House, my label mate. And so Sherry joined the Supremes.
You know, we all know, of course, Verdine is a monster on bass and a legend. But is there something you could share with viewers about, you know, what he's like just as a character or a person?
Yeah, yes, of course. Verdine is classically trained. So around the house, he listens to a lot of classical music. We have a joke, sometimes we'll take the same car, you know, if it's in the front, and I'll get in the car and it's all classical music, and I'll switch it to either rap or R&B or whatever's, you know, Pandora, and he gets back in the car and switches it back to classical, and then I get back in the switch. And it's just a big joke because we know what we're going to hear when we get in that car. But Verdine is, you know, he's a real maniac on stage. People, of course, used to ask me, "Is your husband on drugs?" And you know, he just loves performing. But at home, he listens to NPR talk radio. He used to be a CNN guy, and now he's BBC because it's, you know, because they show everything. You gotta watch BBC. They show beheadings and everything.
It's quite an endorsement.
Right. And he's just very mild-mannered. He's a gentleman. He still opens doors. He takes out the trash. He walks the dog. He's nothing like what you would think. Of course, he does, you know, love shopping. And that's the best part about being married to him. You never have to say, you know, you don't have to deal with a husband who's, you know, he's like, hey, try this on over here. This looks really cool, you know. And he loves, you know, he's the only husband I know that if you run out of some kind of makeup or mascara, you know, he'll have something comparable that you might be able to borrow, you know, not eyelashes, but everything else. So he's a joy to live with. He is the best pandemic partner because, and then, you know, during when it was really bad, we would just say, okay, look, we're gonna have a schedule here. We're gonna have movie night, you know, because you can't go out. So you know, we're gonna have the back porch is gonna be Chez Michelle, where we have dinner. Upstairs porch is gonna be Saint-Tropez, where we take in some sun. And so he's just, you know, he's very easygoing. He's very easy to live with. And we were listening to music, I want to say, because I would say, look, if we're stuck here, we're going to do what Clive Davis does. He listens to all kind of music, every music, just to stay on top of his music game. And so I would see what artists are trending. It didn't matter if it was hip hop, you know, pop, R&B, reggae, whatever. I said, we're going to listen to these artists and make notes as to who they are. And lo and behold, these same artists came up like they just did a song, right? They just did a remake um, that they performed on CNN, and oh my God, the name of Lucky Day. They just did a song, Can't Hide Love. Well, it was a reimagined version of Can't Hide Love. And so Lucky Day was one of the artists that we were listening to during, when the pandemic was just, it was really rough and we weren't going outside. I said, see, now you know who Lucky Day is because we did our homework back then. So that's what kind of guy he is. He does love music, but he's not what you would think he is just by looking at him on stage. He's not hyper. He works out. He does yoga. He meditates every day. He loves the dogs. Just a real family kind of guy. That's all I can say about him.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. His persona is so high energy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right? If I heard it once, I'd hear it 100 times. What drug is he on? Nobody can move for 2 hours without stopping. Even on the slow songs, he's,
What's your favorite one or two Earth, Wind, and Fire song?
September. We put that in the show. We put that in our show. And of course, he played bass on "You Got the Best of My Love," which is Al McKay.
Yeah.
And he played bass on that, and that's another one of my all-time favorites. And I guess the only other song that Earth, Wind, and Fire that I do like, it's a song that is called "Turn It Into Something Good," and it may not have gotten the recognition or airplay, but it's just so uplifting and such a cool song. You have to try to listen to that when you can.
Okay.
Turn it into something good.
Yeah, it sounds like a great message. So.
Yes. Yeah. And I like Let's Groove, but that's a whole nother story. I'll have to come back on and tell you how Let's Groove became a hit.
All right, that's a good hook.
Get me back on here.
Did you get to spend much time with Eddie Murphy in that job or not?
Yeah, I was on Paramount Pictures lot every single day. And we were in the DeMille building. And I was hiring all Eddie's secretaries and all his assistants. And I came in just as like a hitman, just to do a little of this. And I wasn't supposed to stay, but I got hired on to stay. And after that, my job increased more and more responsibility, down to the fact that his manager at the time, Bob Wax, he had a bet with Bob Wax that one of his movies would not be a hit. And the manager, they just made a bet. And when Eddie lost the bet because it was a hit, I believe it was either Golden Child or one of those, movies with Beverly Hills Cop or one of those. And to the point that he came and said, Shelly, I owe Bob and I want to get him a Rolls Royce. And I want you to make the arrangements. Well, I had one at the time, so I think he trusted me that I would be able to do a good job. And so I went to my friend Garth Waite Rolls Royce in Beverly Hills, and I said, you guys gotta, it's a surprise. You gotta deliver a white Rolls Royce to Paramount Pictures lot and sneak it on here, and I'll get you, in the gate. And so I was happy to be able to do that because Bob Wax almost fainted because Eddie lost the bet. So that was his way of, paying it forward.
Wow, that makes me think of it's quite a comparison to Trading Places. I don't know if you remember in that movie.
No, I love Trading Places.
They just bet $1. Remember those millionaires who bet $1?
Right. Mortimer.
Yeah, so Rolls Royce is real stakes.
That was a great gesture on his part.
So is he funny at all off screen, off stage?
He is funny, but he's really very serious because he wants the best he wants the best thing to happen for whatever movie he's in. He didn't really want to deal with Tommy Davidson. And so I think, how an up and coming comic is coming along and you think maybe he's going to replace you.
That's like how Richard Pryor kind of looked at Eddie Murphy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're always afraid of that next guy. So Tommy used to come up and I would say, Tommy, go do a workshop and I'm going to get everybody to go down and watch you. And so Tommy did. And I made the whole department go and just hooked the whole thing up. And they went and saw Tommy, and they saw that he was good. He was great. He got the crowd going. And I think Eddie's fears lessened after a while. And so they put him in a sitcom that never got picked up called Coming to America, the TV series. But it is on YouTube, the pilot. And he went on to do better things after that. Tommy did. In Living Color, this, that, the other. I was the first one that saw In Living Color, by the way. He had these crazy tapes that he would show me. He said, look, I'm working on a workshop. Tell me what you think of this. And it was Keenan, it was everybody. And I was looking, I said, wow, that stuff is really funny. Can you get away with the saying all that and, 2 snaps up and gay people?
On Fox, yeah.
Can you get away with that on TV? And it was the beginning of In Living Color. Well, who knew? And later on, it blew up, but I saw it first.
And now they've made the Coming to America Part 2 also.
Yes.
Movie.
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, I do like it. A lot of people tried to trash it, that it wasn't this, that, or the other. But I mean, there were so many superstars in it. You just had to be happy to be able to see all the old faces again.
Yeah. Should I go see it? Because I had heard it was so I kind of.
Just, you got to see it. It's for posterity.
Yeah.
You got to watch it. It's
obligatory, right?
Yeah. And it is funny in spots. It is. His friend Clint Smith, all the old guys, it's like the Blues Brothers, let's get the band back together.
Yeah. And did you get to, I'm assuming you spent some time with Maurice White?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Is there anything you could share with us about Maurice?
Maurice was such a genius. I mean, can you imagine one day you get, you're not playing drums anymore, and you say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to put a band together and I'm going to start singing. And I mean, Ramsay Lewis was a dear friend of ours forever. And if you listen to him tell the story, which I forgot to make him tell it when we had him on my podcast, That's My Story. I forgot. But Ramsay told the story that Maurice came to him one day and said, and it's the truth. He said, Ramsay, I'm going to leave. I'm going to put my own band together now. I don't want to be a drummer anymore. I want to fuse all sorts of music, rock, African, pop, and we're going to come out of spaceships, and we're going to wear flashy clothes, and we're going to sing everything under the sun. And Ramsay said, I looked at him and said, boy, go home and take 2 aspirin and go lay down. And then he said, but I'll be damned if he didn't make good on everything he said he was going to do. And then he came back and did a song with Ramsay and got him his biggest smash ever, Sun Goddess. He came and got Ramsay, said, I'm coming to visit you. I got a song in mind. But it wasn't that song. It was the flip side. It was another song called Hot Dog It. And Hot Dog It was a flop, but the DJs flipped it over and they started playing Sun Goddess and it went through the roof. So can you imagine here, your drummer, your bandmate comes back after leaving you and starting his own thing and gives you the biggest record you've had in your life.
Yeah.
Maurice was something, I'm telling you. He could just dream some stuff and there it was right in front of you, right? As soon as he thought of it, and I mean, Verdine was his cheerleader. And I mean, can you imagine, I'm gonna bring my 18-year-old brother out here Verdine was already was scheduled to go to the Philharmonic. I mean, he was like already doing nightclubs, and he was doing classical music at the Academy. And so Maurice called him and said, "Hey man, come on out here." He was 18. And so he hung the phone up and said, "I'll be right there." And so Verdine's mother had a nervous breakdown. Said, "You're gonna follow your older brother out there? Wait a minute." So, because LA was sex, drugs, and rock and roll to her. So she didn't want to lose, lose him to that. But anyway, it worked out fine. He came out here and they moved, they moved in together. And he said the first day here, they went to a party, Jimi Hendrix party. And he said, "Oh my God, there's Janis Joplin over there. Oh my God, there's Jimi Hendrix over there. I'm never going back to Chicago. I'm staying right here." So yeah, Maurice was something else. You'll never find another one like him.
A visionary with the talent and perseverance to bring it to fruition.
A real genius and a trailblazer, I want to say. I don't think anybody pulled off what he did. Can you imagine? We're going to come out of spaceships?
But also everything I've heard, of those who worked with him, they say he was just such a great, genuine guy, not only a talent. Maybe he was a little bit of a taskmaster in the studio, but because he had that vision and knew what things could be. But otherwise, just a great guy.
Indeed. They told you right. And Verdine said, "I was messing up in the studio one day, and back-to-back takes was missing." He said, Maurice leaned over and said, "Get your together, or I'm sending you back to Chicago." And he said, "I hurried up and got my focus back." And I never lost it anymore.
Wow. I got to see them in 1979 at the LA Forum, and I'll never forget that experience. Such a visual extravaganza, and the music, of course, speaks for itself. But man, seeing them at their prime like that was just incredible.
The show with Earth, Wind in Chicago was Verdine's idea. He and Jason Chef put that together. So if you didn't see that show, man, oh man, 20 musicians on stage and they're playing each other's music. They did 2 tours almost back to back. That's how great it was. Heart and Soul, and then Heart and Soul 2.0. Amazing. It's amazing.
And so great that they're still going too, with
right?
Philip and Ralph and Verdine, just fantastic.
Right.
So Shelly, I appreciate you spending the time with me, and it's been so much fun talking with you. And can you let everybody know, you kind of touched on, some of the things you have in the works, but, if you want to kind of put a cap on that and summarize it, and also how can people keep up with what you have going on?
I would love for people to follow us on the official Honeycomb Facebook page, and the Honeycomb. I think we might be official on Instagram, and we do have a website that I'm gonna launch later. It's out there, but I've got to add stuff to it, to make it fantastic. And so there's those 2 social medias, and I think that's about it for now, because you can always reach me in the back of Facebook on Messenger, and I'll always respond. And of course, we have a show that we're putting together, so we hope possibly before 2022 to be able to start getting back out there, possibly on next year's Soul Train cruise, if we can pull it together fast enough. So.
Wow, that's great. And so glad that, things are going well, and congratulations on your new adopted dog.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been a joy talking to you, and I hope to have you back again, hear those other stories. So thank you, Shelly.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.